9 young hikers, 9 hopeful souls, 9 vibrant lives snuffed out in a way so ghastly, so unfathomable, that even today the snow still whispers their screams. It was February of 1959 when Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student, led his trusted companions deep into the frozen jaws of the Ural Mountains. Their destination, Kholat Syakhl, ominously translated by the native Mansi people as Dead Mountain. By all accounts, they were strong, disciplined, and experienced. Yet within days, the mountain would tear their story into a riddle of fear and agony that defies reason. When the search team finally reached the slope, what they saw chilled their blood more than the -30-degree winds. A single tent stood half buried in the snow, its canvas shredded, not from the outside, but from within. Knives had sliced it open, as though those inside were desperate to escape. Something. Boots, coats, food supplies, diaries, everything remained inside, untouched, frozen in time. But the hikers? They had fled barefoot, half-dressed, into the cruel night. 9 sets of footprints, bare and frantic, led down into the woods. Then the trail split, scattering into shadows. On February 26th, they found them. The first 2, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko, lay beneath a cedar tree, as if they had clawed their way to fire and warmth only to collapse into death's arms. Their bodies were nearly naked, bruised, and burned. Doroshenko's face was grotesque. Blood smeared his nose and lips, his ears were blackened with frostbite, his head marked with burns as though fire itself had licked him cruelly. His arms bore bruises that spoke of a struggle, perhaps with something unseen. Krivonishenko's injuries were worse, his skin torn, his legs scorched, his own flesh bitten between his teeth as though he had chewed his hand in unholy agony. Above them, 15 feet high, branches were broken, proof that one or both had climbed in terror, scratching at bark until their fingers bled. But what were they climbing from? 3 more bodies were found between the forest and their tent. Dyatlov himself lay face down, bloodied lips frozen in a silent cry. Rustem Slobodin's skull bore fractures, his body bruised as if fists had pummeled him in the dark. And Zenaida Kolmogorova, the only woman among them so far, collapsed mid-stride, her face purple with frost, her body broken. Their hands told a story. Knuckles bruised, bones splintered. They had fought. Against what? Against whom? The snow remained silent. For weeks the mountain held its last secret. Then, in May, searchers unearthed the remaining 4. Buried deep in snow, their corpses lay mangled as though some monstrous force had crushed them like fragile dolls. Alexander Kolovatov's neck was twisted unnaturally, his skull bleeding from a deep wound. Nikolai Thibault Brignol's head was shattered with fractures no simple fall could explain. Semyon Zolotarev's chest was caved in, ribs splintered like glass beneath a hammer, his eyes gouged from his skull. But it was Lyudmila Dubinina whose death screamed the loudest. Her ribs broken, her face mutilated, her eyes stolen from their sockets, her tongue ripped mercilessly from her mouth while she was still alive. Blood in her stomach proved it. She had swallowed her own screams. The injuries defied explanation. The fractures resembled the aftermath of a car crash, yet no avalanche, no fall, no wild beast could account for the horror before them. Radiation clung to their clothing. Strange burns marked trees nearby. Other campers swore they had seen glowing orbs in the night sky. The Soviet investigation concluded blandly, chillingly. death by an unknown compelling force. The files were sealed, the mountain abandoned. But questions bled through the silence. Why cut through the tent instead of walking out the entrance? Why abandon warm clothing to run barefoot into the abyss of night? Why the burns? Why the missing eyes? Why the tongue torn from Lyudmila's throat? Some whisper of secret weapons testing, others of alien lights and experiments. Some dare to say it was no human at all, that an ancient, brutal presence awoke on Dead Mountain that night. Only one man lived, Yuri Yudin. He had fallen ill before the climb and turned back. Fate spared him, though it haunted him forever. Before his death in 2013, Yuri said, "If I could ask God one question, it would be this: what really happened to my friends that night?" The mountain never answered. The snow keeps its silence. But when the wind howls through the Ural peaks, many believe it carries faint echoes of bare feet running, of desperate screams torn away, of 9 young souls swallowed by the darkness. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains not just an unsolved mystery, but a wound in the fabric of reality, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are not the ones we imagine, but the ones we can never name.